Hey everybody, welcome back to Generation X Nation. Let's go. Let's get into this love and marriage Huntsville. But before we get started, thank you to everybody who has subscribed to my channel. I appreciate it. If you left a comment, if you share, if you hit the like button, does not go unnoticed. Okay. And with that being said, let's just go. Everything on my channel is alleged, in my opinion, and for entertainment purposes only. Alleged, in my opinion, and for entertainment purposes only. All commentary is based week to week on the episode that airs. That's it. That's all. So let's get started. Now, the crew is getting ready to go on their little cash trip to the cabins. And let me tell you, the gaslighting on this particular show that comes from Kimmy is freaking outrageous. And I'm going to get through as fast as I can so I can point it out to y'all. So let's get started. As they're at the house prepping for the event, Kimmy tells Maurice that she wants this to be a nice event with harmony. Maybe everybody can have a reset to fracture, to help fix some of the relationships that have been fractured, in the last few months or so. Cool. She tells Maurice, I don't want Martell to come. Maurice said Martell is coming. Kimmy said if he come, you gonna babysit him. So that was the end of that. I guess Martell will be there. She insists that this is a couple's trip. All right. So now we get to the actual location. Everybody's pulling up. She's going cabin to cabin, showing each person where they will be sleeping at. The cabins are actually nice. The area is actually nice. And I thought, like, she did a good job. I hear it's only an hour or so away from Huntsville, so they didn't go that far. However, what I did notice is Destiny is there. Now, Kimmy said this is a couple's trip, but somehow you invited Destiny. Destiny is by herself. That's not a couple, but we know Will shows up later on. Now, after everybody gets to their cabin, again, I'm just going through this real quick because we need to get to Kimmy in her gaslighting. After they all get to their cabin, the couples convene and they start talking. The Scotts are in one area talking about how Trish looked as sad, and then Maurice let everybody know that her divorce was finalized today. And of course, Kimmy and Tisha act like they cared. Then we get down to Destiny and Martell. Martell and Destiny are sitting having a conversation, and Destiny said, it looks like a trap to me. The Scots got you up there with them. I don't know where Destiny is at, but apparently Martell's cabin must be better than hers. She said, be careful, maybe a trap. He said, what are you talking about? Well, you know all them comments you'd have made about them. I don't know why they would put you there. Destiny, Martell is a regular cast member. He gonna have the same accommodations as the rest of them, okay? However, Martell said, are you talking about the 20 women and what my so-and-so, my private part looks like? Describe it to me type thing that Maurice said. And she just started laughing. And you know what? I got to give to Destiny. She peeped some of the stuff that was going on with them Scott brothers. So I'll give her that. Now, after that, everybody settles in. Kimmy leaves nice little notes for each person to write something about another person in the group. She also gave them a little welcoming letter with some encouraging words. They all get down to the campfire and they're supposed to read their cards. Now, while they're sitting there, there's a few people that I wrote down that missed the assignment, okay? Now, the first person that missed the assignment, in my opinion, was Ken. Ken spoke up first. Ken said, no, I'm sorry. Ken, not Ken, Martell. Martell did not miss the assignment. Martell talked about Arion low key. He said he's finally seeing the love. I don't know if he was talking about from a particular person. I know it's Arion. Maybe he don't want to say her name for whatever reason, but I believe that's who he's talking about, but I could be wrong. Now, Ken missed the assignment. Ken talked about himself, not anybody else in the group. Trish had just got through coming from a divorce earlier that day. You thought Ken would give her some encouraging words because she's out there with him. But no, Ken said, I want to thank this group for the growth and the understanding I have learned since I've been here from you guys. Really? But I move on. Destiny missed the assignment. She talked about herself. She said, basically in third person, I'm so proud of who I'm becoming. I'm so proud of who I am based on where I come from and how I used to act. Okay, Destiny, we appreciate that. Then we get to Marceau. Marceau talked about Letitia, his wife, he got the assignment right. He thanked her for pushing him. He says she's a beacon of light and he has seen 20 years of learning to love more and more. That was great. Nell also did the same thing. She talked about Maurice and Kimmy and thanking them for inviting her and Chris on the trip, considering they weren't in the best space right now. They got the assignment right. Maurice got the assignment right. He said, "Hey, 7 years of marriage to Kimmy, and he's found her to be his center." I thought that was very sweet. Tisha got the assignment right. She talked about Marceau, how he works hard for his family, he sacrifices everything, and he has never given up on her. And trust me, that has to be a hard job being married to Letitia Scott. Now, Kimmy said something about Trish. Since Kim missed the assignment, Kimmy decided to say, "Hey, I think Trish lights up the room when she comes in, and I'm looking forward to the friendship that we are about to build over the years. I know you're still new, but hopefully this friendship will continue to grow." Good job, Kimmy. I like that. Chris said, "Hey, he remembers his friendship with Martell and he values it and he hopes they get into a better space and place with their friendship again." I appreciate that. Trisha gave the most heartfelt one of all because she gave a tribute to her parents, which I thought was odd because I thought she was supposed to say something about the people there, but we'll let her pass because she just got through this divorce. Trish said heaven could have waited. Trish was basically saying that they were gone too soon, and some of it was based on their lifestyles. She said her father drank too much, didn't listen to them, and he smoked, and that may be why heaven could have waited, but he chose not to listen, so he got there earlier than he should. And her mother, the same thing. I guess she was pushing her mother to be more healthier and eat healthier, but she said maybe she was missing dad. She felt heaven could have waited, but apparently her mother needed to get there when she got there. I felt like Trish was letting loose a lot of things. Trish is still in mourning of her parents, her sister, and now she's mourning a marriage that she just lost. Okay? Now, the night went smooth sailing, no big arguments or anything like that. The next day, Will shows up and they do the tour of the caves. The caves were actually beautiful. But Will shows up, goes to Destiny's cabin, looks around, sits in her bed, makes a few jokes. She said, "This is my buddy. We're hanging out." Okay, Destiny, I'll bite if you is. Oh, they do the trip in the cabin. And then after that, they come back and everybody is getting ready for dinner. And this is where the BS, no, not dinner, I'm sorry, the boat ride. So on the boat ride, you have the men on one boat and the women on another boat. Let's talk real quick about the men. The men are on the boat. Maurice mentioned that Trish seems out of it. He said, Ken, Trish seemed a little out of it. I know that divorce was pretty rough and it's pretty sad. I know what it's like when I filed for divorce. I didn't think I would be sad, but I was. Martell says, "I am still sad and sometimes I cry." Now, Martell, the day before you were saying how, Ariane quote was showing you a lot of love. You think Ariane want to see you talking about you still crying over Melody? I'm just saying. Um, he said they both admitted it felt a little weird toasting to the divorce, but that's what they wanted to do that night before at the fire, whatever they toasted to Trisha's divorce. Um, and then the spin the block came in. This is Maurice gaslighting because that's what him and Kimmy do. They don't like to be gaslit, but they love to gaslight somebody else. So Maurice starts talking about this spinning the block comment. And he said, you what is this thing about spinning the block? They said Trish had responded to some DMs. Ken said, well, she responded to some DMs. She didn't say anything about spinning the block that I know. And then Will steps in and said, yes, she did. Y'all sat at the table and y'all mentioned the spinning the block thing. So at that point, Will, why did you spill the guts on on your friend? You should have just went with whatever Ken said. And he said, you guys both said y'all entertained other people. And then Kim was like, hey, she did her thing, I did my thing, and we're back together. And boy, the Eminem crew, the Three Musketeers, Marceau, Maurice and Martell was like, lies you tell. They don't get to do what we do. I wish a woman would. Maurice said, I'll leave. I'm out of there. Marceau said, no, don't be putting that out in the atmosphere. And Martell said, ain't no woman I'm with gonna do the same shit I do. He said Ken has seen too many red flags with Trish, and he's still out there. And Ken's like, none of that bothers me. The Martell thing don't bother me. Her talking to other dudes don't bother. None of that bothers me. I guess they want me to be like them. I ain't like them. I'm not soft like them. I don't know, Ken. I mean, they got a point. What they saying is wrong because they out here doing they dirt, but they don't want their women to do nothing to them. They'll leave them for doing dirt, but they don't want their women to leave them for doing dirt. But they would leave their women if they did dirt on them. That's basically what they're telling you. And Ken is like, hey, I made a mistake. She made a mistake. Let's just leave it at that. Okay. Then they start talking about the whole Fletcher thing. So at that moment, Chris and Marceau get into this conversation. Maurice comes up and say, hey, Fletcher, we didn't know what was going on. We didn't know what was going on with your license. We didn't know what the process was. Was there appeal process or anything like that? We look up to you. We want to do business with you and all of that. And then Marceau said, I was thinking, and then Fletcher said, and that is your problem. I'm like, oh, no, he didn't. The one thing about Fletcher and Martell, they will get them Scots all the way together. They are not scared to stand to them Scott boys. Unlike Ken. Ken like kind of let the Scots get away with their little jabs. Martell and Fletcher do not let that go. But once Marceau talked to Fletcher and Maurice said, hold up, Chris. Marceau had some stuff he was doing. He had some hotels. He was working on a house he was working on that he was going to allow you to list. He wouldn't even let Kimmy list it. We all have brokered license, and he said, I'm going to give it to Fletcher. And I thought to myself, he wouldn't give it to Kimmy, and that's his sister-in-law? Maurice, you should be worried about that. Maybe Marceau doesn't like Kimmy as much as people think he does. I don't know. There seemed to be something going on there. Anyway, because Kimmy did send Maurice to go get Marceau the 2 episodes ago. However, he said, yes, I was going to try to get you to do that. Fletcher said, hey, I did something for somebody what I shouldn't have done, and it cost me my license, but I'm working on it. But once they all kind of got a lot of that stuff out of their system, they kind of understood what was going on. They just want to know how the appeal process is working and if he's going to get, basically his license back so they can start doing some business together. So at the end of the day, I am so happy that the boys got together in that boat and they seem to get on one accord and they understand where their relationships are going now. Now, let's get to the girl boat. And I need to make sure I look at my notes, okay? As they're on the boat, Tish makes a comment about, I never told you to pick a side when it came to the Martell issue. And then Destiny was like, yeah, but you was trying to make me pick a side when it came to Nell, and I couldn't do that because I've been knowing Nell for a long time. And I was not going to do that. Okay? Tish starts to say, Destiny, you act like you never do anything wrong. And then Destiny said, not until I'm pushed in a corner. And she said, well, what pushed you in the corner? The comment about don't trust that hoe? And Destiny said, once again, that was very disrespectful. You know? And then Kimmy said, wait a minute. Let's just try to understand how we all felt. Kimmy, shut up. Once again, the gaslighter. See, Kimmy, you started this mess. We know you did. Because we don't know what you told Destiny that caused this confusion told Tisha that caused the confusion between her and Destiny. Remember? We still don't know how you relayed that message. All right? So, Kimmy, she said, Tisha said, you've been throwing low blows with that comment about the friendship Tourette thing. And then Kimmy was like, uh, I'm sorry, Destiny was like, that was just a joke. The real moment was about your husband. And Tisha said, see, Destiny, you won't own up to anything. You just need to apologize. And Destiny's like, I am all apologized out. And I get that. Destiny is saying, I didn't apologize to you several times. You pushed me to the corner by being disrespectful and calling me this 304. And you don't understand how that affects me as a woman. And Tisha keeps saying, well, you said this about my husband. You told this lady that she is a 304. You said, where do I stand? And you said, don't trust that 304. You're the 304 in a box. All Destiny said was your husband doesn't have your back. So you felt what she said was more disrespectful than you calling her a 304 and don't trust that 304 in a box, or put that 304 in a box, don't trust that, that 304. I'm trying not to say the word. You felt that wasn't disrespectful, but her saying your husband doesn't have your back is disrespectful. I mean, you both were wrong in a sense, but Tisha, you were way wronger than Destiny in that incident, okay? You pushed Destiny to the brink. So Destiny said, I'm done. This is it. I ain't talking about this no more. So whatever y'all came off that boat in, whatever resolution y'all had coming off that boat is where it stood. That's it. Now, going forward, they get to the dinner, and this where gaslighting Kim comes into play. Now, before I get started on this, I'm just going to say this very simple. One thing I'm giving Melody Cherie Rogers credit for, she was right about each and every one of y'all. Each and every one of y'all are exactly who she said y'all are. Exactly who she said y'all are. It's no question about she was right about that. All the deflection that y'all pushed off on her to hide what was going on in y'all own relationship is mind-boggling because it's all coming out episode by episode. And two, Kimmy is the gaslighter of the year. Kimmy is Queen Gaslighter. Kimmy loves to pour the gas, light the fire, and then walk away. She loves to throw the rocks and hide her hand. And I'm going to show you what I mean, even after we go through this conversation at the dinner table. So they get to the dinner table. First thing Kimmy does to start the fire is how did everything go on the boat with the guys? And the guys came out and said, well, there was resolution. Everything's good. She said, oh, really? Resolution? There you go. Now we finna put the match in. Now you started the gas, you poured the gas by accident. How did everything go? They said there was a resolve. That means the guys are all good. Kimmy said, really? And now everybody's wondering what you're talking about. Kimmy got an issue with Martell, which goes back to I don't want Martell on the trip. Remember, Kimmy is always, Martell's a good guy. Don't call her by that name. That's not her name. Martell's a good guy. I like Martell. To, I don't want Martell on a trip. Now she's at the dinner table, friend to throw some gas on Martell. But remember, Kimmy, what happened the last time Martell snapped on somebody on that Scott side, which was Marceau and Tisha at that park. When Martell gets to going, he holds nothing back. You picking with the wrong guy and you about to find out. So she mentioned a comment allegedly Martell made about the whole DWI thing. Now she put the battery in Maurice's back. So they went from calm, cool, collective and being in resolve to now Maurice is mad at Martell. Just like that, Kimmy done lit the fire. So now Maurice is like, Martell's like, what are you talking about? You talking about the pole and the animal thing? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And Martell is like, well, what are you talking? We back to the DWI thing? And he was like, yeah. He said, well, I mean, that's what you said. He said, well, then Martell said, well, tell us what happened then. Tell us what happened. He said, I hit a pole, an animal, and a tree. And everybody starts laughing. And Maurice is getting mad. All of a sudden, it's a whole different Maurice to from we're all cool, we're all good off the boat. Everybody laughing. The guys are, the guys has came to a common ground. We good. To now, all of a sudden, you're screaming and hollering and cussing Martell out at the table. And then Martell said, what are you talking about? And then Maurice said, you fucking laughing. I don't find anything funny. And Martell said, everybody's sitting here laughing. Even Tisha and Marceau is laughing. Kimmy, Tisha and Marceau is sitting next to you, but you mad at Martell. They're laughing, but you ain't directing no anger to them. They're laughing. And Kimmy's like, I don't find anything funny. She's just staring mad. Now you done poured the gasoline, lit the match, And now you mad once again. Martell is meeting y'all energy. And then he's like, it's not funny. I had a concussion. I was in the hospital. And Martell said, well, had you told me he was in the hospital, I wouldn't have thought about it. You ain't say nothing about no hospital. Everybody's still laughing and looking crazy. Okay? At the end of the day, Martell said, you were drunk as fuck and you hit a tree and animal. You was drunk. And he said, I don't find anything funny. But then Maurice let it slip in. But I got off. Charges got dropped. It got dismissed. It got dismissed. So you went from hitting a pole, a tree, and an animal to having a concussion and being upset to the DWI charges got dismissed. But you still screaming and arguing at Maurice. And Ken is like, what happened to the resolve? What was that all about on the boat? And they study going back and forth. I don't give a F. You full of crap. Back and forth. Martell like, you didn't care anything about my concussion. Let me just break all this down and clear it real quick. Kimmy is the professional gaslighter, and she has been doing it since the show started. Mind you, Kimmy started off this particular season where she was going to throw Nell in the effing pool. Y'all remember her and Nell had the big falling out, and she was going to throw her in the effing pool. Then after that got somewhat resolution to it, she went over and mentioned something to Letitia that Destiny told her in a meeting they had together about, I don't know if it was some property or something like that. Gaslighting one-on-one. Now, Tisha and Destiny fighting and arguing. And then Kimmy acting like, ooh, what happened? Then Kimmy puts a battery in Maurice's back to go over and jump on Marceau about property on Jordan Lane he hadn't finished yet. You know what happened there? Maurice and Marceau gets into it, and he said, "I'll take care of you." He called, and Marceau ended up calling Maurice a sleazy lawyer, thinking he gonna sue him, and he had to walk back down the hill to his car. Now, Kimmy has put a battery in the back of Maurice once again to attack Martell about a comment online. And now they're arguing. Kimmy is the queen of gaslighting, and we starting to see a whole different Kimmy that we never knew existed. You are messy, Kimmy, and you love to start shit, as they say, throw your rocks and hide your hand. You had caused every fight on this show damn near started with you. Every single conflict on this show this particular season has started with you. So we are to believe that your husband and you were at an event. Y'all left the event in two separate cars, met up at a gas station, and this is what you said in the previous season at the reunion and on the episodes. Met up at a gas station, went your separate ways. He did not come home that night. The next morning, he was being released from, or he was arrested for DWI. According to the time, it was around 12 o'clock in the afternoon the next day. But we don't know where he was at for those 4 or 5 hours that he wasn't around you. And you never told anybody where he was at. But his DWI picture shows red lipstick. The same red lipstick that Melody asked you about in that meeting, you got pissed off and made a comment. Melody thinks it's because her husband cheating, everybody husband cheating. But we still don't know where the red lipstick came from. We still have about 3 or 4 hours where Maurice cannot be accounted for. Now he claimed I was in the hospital with a concussion. Kimmy works at a hospital and was a nurse, pretty much well known because she was one of the department heads. Nobody called you and said, Kimmy, your husband's here in the hospital with a concussion. That's what you want us to believe. Huntsville. Ain't that many hospitals in Huntsville. More than likely, somebody at the hospital knew who your husband was and knew who you was because you was a nurse. And you was one of the department heads in the nursing area down there in the hospital. And nobody called you and said, hey, Maurice is here at the hospital with a concussion. That's what you want us to believe. Kimmy. So when they ask you about that timeline, you all upset, pissed off, but you want to go gaslight everybody else. See, that's why you didn't want Martell there. And that's why y'all don't want Ariane around. Because by now, Ariane should be showing her face or showing up to some events, even if she's in the crowd not being filmed. Tisha and Kimmy is scared of Ariane. And that's just my take on it. They don't want her around. They don't want Martell bringing her around because they know she might say some stuff they don't like. because it's starting to look more and more like something ain't right with you guys. You sat down there and just went off on Mel and walked out, didn't want to talk about the red lipstick thing. You sat down there and said she think everybody husband cheating because her husband cheating. But you still got all these gaps in Maurice's DWI. And when somebody brings it up every time, the story changes. But your husband was missing this whole timeline. You didn't call, look, check the police department, check the hospital records, or none of that. Because I'm not 100% certain, but I just don't remember him ever mentioning being hospitalized with a concussion when he was describing all this. And after Martell said all of that and they argued back and forth, he poked out his chest and said, but it all got dismissed. That don't mean you wasn't guilty of it. That just mean they didn't have enough proof at the time. Maybe your alcohol level had subsided overnight and it wasn't high enough to be a DWI. Maybe you had some kind of other drugs or pills in your system that you took that, along with the alcohol, caused you to look. And I'm not saying you're on drugs. I'm just saying it could have been pain medicine or something you took, that you're on blood pressure medicine that could have mixed up something and make it look like you were drunk. I don't know. But something just not adding up. You see, Kimmy loves being in everybody else's business, but she don't want nobody in her own. She is the queen of gaslighting. And this every conflict this season that they had on this show, outside of Nell and Destiny and dating the godson and stuff, has been started and gaslighted by freaking Kimmy. I just don't like the person she's becoming on this show, or at least the character that they're editing her to be. She may be a better person in real life. I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm just saying from what I'm seeing and from where I'm standing. That's all. And last but not least, I know Trish is in a good space now. I've seen her a couple times on social media. I don't follow all these people. I just go on their pages. Sometimes I follow them. I may follow one or two of them. But I will say this again before I leave and finish this video. Melody Cherie Rogers was right about you people. Everything she said is coming to fruition. Tisha just hold on grudges for absolutely no reason. Tisha, let it go. I'm sure Trish has resolved a lot of her issues, but I hope Trish did get some help. Ken, on this particular episode, the only person you should have been writing something to was Trish. Trish had just got through from the divorce hearing and came out there to be with you. She just buried her marriage. She sat there and wrote about her husband and her father and her sister that she lost, gone too soon. Heaven couldn't wait, and now her marriage is now dead. So that's a fourth thing that she is grieving. And your selfish behind wrote a card about understanding and knowledge. What the hell did you understand? You did not understand that your girlfriend at the time, alleged girlfriend, fiance, whatever, needed you to say something inspirational and inspiring to her, because everybody at the table that day and all on the boat told you that she was looking down and depressed. Get a clue, Ken. Get a clue. That's all I'm saying. And last but not least, Destiny and Will. Kimmy said it's all couples. She didn't want Martell there, but she invited Destiny and Will. So were y'all just coming as a couple or not? Kimmy didn't want Martell there because she knew if Martell get loose and them lips get to moving, y'all piss him off, he gonna spill more dirt. And Kimmy did not want any dirt to come out. Martell probably knew where Maurice was that night, and she probably was in a little nerves, and that's why she didn't want him there. That's all I'm saying. With that being said, I'm finished now for real. I am getting off this line. I got to go watch these girls down here in Atlanta. I got some few thoughts on K Michelle, and I'll get that video up as soon as possible. You guys go and have a great rest of your evening. And this, as always, this Generation X Nation, peace as always, and I'm out.